Australians haven't had a whole lot of choice when it comes to electric cars, but that is all about to change in 2023. Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking, my name's Sam Evans and I'm actually in Australia. Therefore, my interest in electric cars that are coming to Australia is pretty high right now, as you can imagine. There's a lot of new electric cars coming, a lot. It's going to be a massive influx. It's going to be a lot of choice. And a lot of competition is about to come, and that's going to do one big thing: reduce the prices to you. Not only reduce the prices, but it's going to improve the product. So let's get right into it. These are the electric cars that will be available in 2023 here in Australia. First, the Audi e-tron GT. The e-tron GT is built on the same platform as the Porsche Taycan. The 2022 Audi e-tron GT will have a high-performance RS variant, and it will have an 83.7 kilowatt-hour battery pack feeding two synchronous motors, a 175 kilowatt front motor, and a rear motor with a lot more power, 335 kilowatts. So that's a total of over 500 kilowatt. You're looking at about 780 horsepower for you guys in America. But it's going to be pretty expensive. Starting prices, 250,000 Australian dollars. Next, we've got the BMW i7, which is a very impressive car, but also extremely expensive. This is basically BMW's version of the 7 Series gasoline petrol-powered car, and this is going to have 400 kilowatts, 745 newton meters of torque, and a big battery pack of 101.7 kilowatt hours. It's going to give the vehicle a driving range of 625 kilometers, and it's going to cost a cool 300,000 Australian dollars before luxury tax and all the other Aussie taxes we charge. Yeah, not really on the radar of many shoppers. I totally get that. However, BMW will have a much cheaper electric car called the iX1. So smaller SUV. It's going to be available in a sole dual motor X-Drive 30 variant, producing 200 kilowatts of power with 494 newton meters of torque, with an additional 30 kilowatt available in boost mode. So you're looking at about 230 kilowatt and 500 newton meters of torque. So what's the price of the iX1 in Australia? Well, it's going to be about $83,000 before on-road costs. Personally, for me, I'd wait for the new version of the Tesla Model Y. But that's just me. Next, the BYD Dolphin. Now, this will be the cheapest electric car you'll be able to buy in Australia in 2023. You're looking at a starting price of just under 35,000 Australian dollars, but that's my guess. We don't know exactly what it is yet. Price hasn't been released. The Dolphin is a small hatchback, which is comparable in size on the outside to the Toyota Yaris, which is why the media are getting confused. They think it's a competitor for the Toyota Yaris. It is certainly not. The interior size is bigger than a Toyota Corolla. It's more in that size of vehicle. It's actually got quite a spacious interior. It's also going to come with two battery pack options. The smaller pack is a 31 kilowatt hour pack, which will give around 300 kilometers of driving range. And there's a bigger long range pack with a 45 kilowatt hour size, giving you over 400 kilometers of range. Both battery packs will use BYD's Blade battery. It's a lithium iron phosphate blade battery, and it's going to give you probably around twice as many cycles as the battery pack in the BMW i7 and the battery pack in the Audi e-tron, which you would think being like 10 times more expensive that wouldn't be the case. But lithium iron phosphate batteries, although they're cheaper, they're actually better for the average consumer for that key reason and for a few other reasons as well. Next, the BYD Seal. Now, this is a competitor to the Tesla Model 3. Very similar size to the Tesla Model 3, but it's going to be a bit cheaper, and it's going to be available in Australia next year. The standard model has a 150 kilowatt electric motor driving the rear wheels with a 61.4 kilowatt hour Blade battery. Driving range of around 400 kilometers. BYD though says it has a 550 kilometer range, but that's not really realistic, of course. The long range version of the BYD Seal uses the same 61.4 kilowatt hour battery pack with a more powerful 230 kilowatt rear electric motor, giving around 700 kilometers, theoretically probably a real world range of around 500 kilometers. And it will do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.8 seconds. It's fast, gives a long range, and it's going to be relatively affordable. Now, the rear drive model has a 61.4 kilowatt hour battery pack that charges at 110 kilowatt charge speed, so a bit slower than obviously its competitor Tesla Model 3. And the larger long range version has an 82.5 kilowatt hour battery pack that can charge at a speed of 150 kilowatt. That's the option that I'd be looking at. I think it's a really, really compelling car, and you should definitely consider it. Even if you're in the market for a more expensive car, I'd still be looking at one of those as well. Cupra Born. Volkswagen's Spanish Cupra brand is entering the Australian market with a range of vehicles, including the 2023 Born electric hatchback, which is going to sell for just over $60,000. It's going to come with a 77 kilowatt-hour battery pack and a WLTP rated driving range of around 540 kilometers. Now, the only thing is, it's about 200 kilos heavier than a much bigger Tesla Model 3 and not much cheaper, only a few $1,000s. I'd personally be looking at a Model 3 over the Cupra Born, but if you like the hatchback shape, it's definitely worth considering. Next, we've got the Ford E-Transit. It's going to be one of the first electric vans to be sold in Australia. It's fully electric and it has a 200 kilowatt powertrain with 430 newton meters of torque. It'll be one of the most powerful vans you can buy, period, of any type of car in Australia. It's going to have a range of 317 kilometers and it will come with a 74 kilowatt hour battery pack. In addition to the Ford E-Transit, Ford are also bringing the E-Transit Custom in 2024, potentially 2023. That one's going to come with the same 74 kilowatt hour pack and will have a driving range of 380 kilometers plus a charging speed of around 115 kilowatt on a DC fast charger. Next, we've got the Great Wall Motors Aura. Now, this is going to be a direct competitor for BYD's EA1, or the BYD Dolphin that we just spoke about a minute ago. It's also going to be another affordable electric car, probably around about 40,000 Australian dollars. And Aura is actually the brand of the car, but Great Wall Motors are the parent company. They manufacture a brand of electric cars called the Aura brand. This will be the first electric car they'll be selling here in Australia. Fortunately, Aura will bring a range of different EVs here, but this will be the first. And this model actually sells in China for less than 35,000 Australian dollars. Looking at a price here in Australia, probably around $40,000. It should come with a driving range of over 400 kilometers in the longer range version. And reviews from the UK right now, they're saying it's actually a really, really good car. It's compelling. It's definitely worth considering. Next, the Hyundai Ioniq 6. I should make a caveat with these videos. The Ioniq 6 will be definitely a great car. It's got an incredible aerodynamic efficiency, long driving range, very impressive interior. It's actually an excellent car, but there's a big problem here. It's very hard to get your hands on a Hyundai Ioniq 5. It will be also very hard to get your hands on a Hyundai Ioniq 6. They simply won't be delivering many of these here. However, for those lucky few, price of this car will be around 70 to 80,000 Australian dollars. It'll have 610 kilometers of range, partly thanks to its incredibly impressive slippery aerodynamic shape and its 74 kilowatt hour battery pack. The Jeep Recon. Jeep are going to bring the Recon electric SUV. This is similar to the rugged Wrangler. We don't know the price of this vehicle or when exactly it's coming out, but it looks as though it will arrive at some point in 2023. Next, the Jeep Wagoneer S. The Jeep Wagoneer will be fully electric and it will have a 447 kilowatt dual motor drivetrain in one of its variants. That'll give the car the ability to do 0 to 100 in around 3.6 seconds and have 644 kilometers of driving range. Now those are some very impressive specs. I can't imagine that'll be cheap for that variant, but there should be a less powerful option with a smaller battery pack, which will be more affordable. The Kia EV6 GT. This is basically a supercar, kind of a hatchback really. It's clearly faster than most supercars available. Well, not most, but many supercars available right now. And it's going to arrive in Australia at some point in 2023. It's a really practical car. People call it an SUV. It's really not. It's more like a hatch wagon, but I love it. It can do 0 to 100 in 3.5 seconds. It's got a 430 kilowatt dual motor powertrain with 740 newton meters of torque. Price. Well, incredibly, it only costs 60,000 pounds in the UK, should cost around 105,000 Australian dollars when it comes to Australia. It'll be one of the performance car bargains. Very similar in terms of performance to a Tesla Model 3 performance. Next, the Kia Niro Plus. Based on the outgoing first generation Niro, the 2023 Kia Niro Plus is the Korean car maker's first purpose-built PBV. It's designed to be a taxi or like a ride-sharing vehicle in Uber. And for those of you who don't know, Uber are saying within a few years' time, you'll have to drive an electric car if you want to drive for Uber. So definitely worth looking at this if you're working in that industry. The Kia Niro Plus is a slightly longer vehicle than the Niro, but it's 80mm higher. So it's going to have a whole lot more cabin space and a much bigger boot. It's going to be priced from 64,000 Australian dollars when it arrives. Another electric van that's coming to the market here in Australia is the LDV E-Deliver 9. quite a big van, and it's got an 88.5 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's made by SAIC, Chinese state-owned company, and it has a range of 280 kilometers. According to the brand, the E-Deliver 9 will charge from 20 to 80% in around 40 minutes on a DC fast charger. It can charge it at maximum speed of 80 kilowatt, and it's going to launch in Australia in early November. So there's another option if you're looking at getting a commercial vehicle. Of course, you'd save a lot of money with one of these compared to a gasoline or petrol powered car, petrol powered van, especially considering the current prices of petrol and diesel here in Australia. They're not going to be cheap anytime soon. Another car. This will be Australia's first electric ute. It's expensive. It's a bit underwhelming, to be honest. I personally would be looking at waiting for something like Geely's RD6 or the BYD electric ute, which should come out in 2024. There's other options available that could come soon. That could come within the next few years as well. However, the 2023 LDV ET60 will be the first electric ute or pickup truck in Australia. Price is around 90,000 Australian dollars. It comes with an 88.5 kilowatt hour battery pack, which will give it a range of 330 kilometers. It's powered by a single electric motor mounted to the rear, which produces a pretty underwhelming 130 kilowatt and 310 newton meters of torque. It's surprisingly lacking in power considering the size of the car. It's a similar size to a Ford Ranger, and I don't know why it's lacking power. Maybe they think they can get more range by reducing the power. That's possible. LDV also are making the MIFA 9. Now, this is a very impressive luxury van. The MIFA 9 is actually based on the petrol-powered G90 people mover. It comes with a 90 kilowatt-hour battery pack and a rear motor with 180 kilowatt and 350 newton meters of torque. LDV says the MIFA 9 will have a 5-star safety rating and become available in early 2023. Price of that one won't be cheap. You'll be looking at around 85,000 Australian dollars, but it is a very impressive and very luxurious van. Mercedes-Benz, they're bringing out the EQE. Now, the EQE was actually shown at the 2021 Munich Motor Show in Germany, and it's Mercedes' latest electric vehicle model. It's coming to Australia in the EQE 350 variant, which is a rear-wheel drive 215 kilowatt sedan with a 90 kilowatt hour battery pack, which should give the car 660 kilometers of range, WLTP cycle, probably about 580 in the real world. It's actually based on the same platform as the EQS, which is much more expensive, but it's 90 millimeters shorter. Pricing, we don't know. I'd probably guess around $180,000 plus. So wouldn't be a whole lot of people in the market for one of these, I don't think. However, there is the Mercedes-Benz EQE SUV, and probably a lot more of these will find homes here in Australia, where we love SUVs for some reason. This is essentially the SUV version of the EQE. The EQS is a high-riding version. It's quite a luxurious car, should have more than 500 kilometers of range, be priced at probably around $180,000 in Australia, and should come out in mid-2023. Next is the Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV. Obviously, it's similar to the EQE, just bigger and more expensive, and will have some more luxury features, possibly a bigger range as well. Now, like the EQS sedan, there'll be 3 grades of the SUV. The rear-wheel drive EQS 450 Plus has 265 kilowatt and 568 newton meters of torque. Then you got the all-wheel drive EQS 450 that has 265 kilowatt as well, but it's got more torque with 800 newton meters. Then the most expensive EQS, which will cost upwards of $300,000. The EQS 580 has 400 kilowatt and 858 newton meters of torque. Every variant comes with a big battery pack. It's 107.8 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack, a lithium ternary pack, by the way. Mercedes are bringing a few EVs. Another one is the EQV van. The EQV van is the all-electric version of the luxurious V-Class people mover, and it will have a driving range of around 350 kilometers, which will come from the 90 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack with 150 kilowatt and 362 newton meters of torque, coming from its electric motor, which powers the front wheels only. Charging speed is 110 kilowatt, and it will cost upwards of $100,000. Around about 110,000 is what I'm hearing. Mercedes-Benz are bringing another electric van called the Mercedes-Benz e-Vito. The e-Vito is a panel van designed for use as a taxi, hotel shuttle bus, Uber van, kind of more of a commercial type van than the Mercedes-Benz EQV. It's got a bigger driving range though, of 360 kilometers, and it's going to come at the end of 2022. Now, here's another compelling car, which I think a lot of people in Australia will consider. This is a direct competitor to the Aura and also to the BYD Dolphin. It's the MG4. I made a few videos on this car. It's definitely a very very good car. Matt Watson from CarWow said it's the best electric car he's driven in 2022. It's coming to Australia pretty soon, within a few months, I believe. And the car comes in the UK with a standard 51 kilowatt hour battery pack, but it comes with also a longer range 64 kilowatt hour pack. And the price should start at around 45,000 Australian dollars for the standard range variant and maybe about $55,000 for the long range variant. There is a hot hatch version of this car coming out in China with 330 kilowatt and 600 newton meters of torque. We don't know if that's coming to Australia, but I'm going to guess it probably will at some point in the future. Another very impressive car coming to Australia is the Polestar 3. Now this is a mid-size SUV which will cost around about $130,000 in Australia. It's a competitor to the Audi e-tron, the Tesla Model X, the BMW iX, and the Mercedes-Benz EQE SUV. It's going to come with a big 111 kilowatt hour battery pack. And like I said, it's not going to be cheap. $130,000 will be the starting price. Another EV that you probably haven't heard much about, which may come out by the end of 2023, is the Porsche Macan electric vehicle. Now, there's been some software problems with all Volkswagen brands, including Porsche, which may delay this car till 2024. But the word is, it's meant to hit the market at the end of 2023. We don't have any details or specs on this car yet. The Skoda Enyaq. The Skoda Enyaq is meant to be coming to Australia in the second half of 2023. And it's a medium-sized electric SUV. The entry-level model has 132 kilowatt and 310 newton meters of torque and a driving range of 507 kilometers. Should cost around 60,000 Australian dollars. So it's a more affordable car than many other brands, but there will also be a mid-range variant with 150 kilowatt and 310 newton meters. That one will give 684 kilometers of range and be priced at 87,000 Australian dollars. The Subaru Solterra. Subaru are meant to be bringing their electric SUV in mid-2023. It's essentially exactly the same car as a Toyota BZ4X, which was recalled because Toyota wasn't able to keep the wheels from falling off. Don't know why. No one knows why. I don't think that's actually true. I think they're telling us a story there. But anyhow, that's another video. I'll put a link in the description below to my video I made about that, all those shenanigans. To be honest, the Toyota BZ4X, it's an underwhelming electric SUV. It's probably not a car that I would recommend or consider, and it's the same car as the Subaru Solterra. In fact, Toyota claimed it had a certain size battery pack, but actually it's been proven in Norway that the battery pack is not the size Toyota claimed. It's just a car I wouldn't be touching if I was you. So definitely worth considering all the other EVs in this list, but I wouldn't actually consider either the Solterra or the BZ4X. Both a bit overpriced for what you get as well. That said, the BZ4X should be coming to market in Australia alongside its twin, the Solterra, in 2023 as well. It's going to come with, well, both of these cars will have 150 kilowatt motors in the front wheel drive variant and an 80 kilowatt motor in the all-wheel drive added to the back, which will give the car a total of 160 kilowatt. Toyota says it'll do 0 to 100 in 8.4 seconds for the front wheel drive and 7.7 seconds for the all-wheel drive. Both versions have a 71.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, which Norwegian companies say it's closer to 62 kilowatt hour pack in reality. Driving range is said to be 500 kilometers for this vehicle, but in tests in Europe, it achieves closer to 380 kilometers in the real world. The Volkswagen ID3 is coming as well. Now, first revealed in 2019, the ID3, which is a similar size to a Volkswagen Golf, will actually come in its newer version. It's going to have a midlife facelift. We're going to get the facelifted model, we hope. Prices, well, it's expected that it will start at around 60,000 Australian dollars when it arrives. The Volkswagen ID4 and the ID5 are slated to arrive in Australia next year too. The Volkswagen ID4 is a similar size in overall length to a Tesla Model Y, but it's a little bit smaller in dimensions if we compare the interior size. Look at a price close to the price of a Tesla Model 3, probably around about 70,000 Australian dollars. Another car worth considering, the Volvo EX30 is said to come next year. It's expected that it'll be a similar car to the Volvo XC40, probably a mid-sized electric SUV. Speaking of SUVs, the Volvo EX90, which is a large SUV, is coming next year as well. It's going to come with some impressive features, including bi-directional charging with vehicle to load and vehicle to grid, as well as a large 110 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's going to start at a price initially for the edition 1 of around 150,000 Australian dollars. It won't be cheap, but there will be a cheaper version come out in 2024, which will have less luxury features but will cost around 100,000 or maybe around 95,000 Australian dollars based on the reports that I've seen. Now, there are some other electric vehicles which could appear next year that we don't know about yet, or that we haven't confirmed are coming yet. Those include vehicles like the BYD Seagull, the BYD Sea Lion, and the BYD electric pickup truck, or the Radar RD6 made by Geely. Now, once we find out whether or not those cars will in fact come next year, I'll make a video straight away. So keep tuned and subscribe to the channel to find out which electric cars are hitting the market here in Australia in 2023. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Would you consider any of these cars? And if you would, which one are you personally considering?